Why aren't Australians dead yet? Haven't you heard the news? There's over 1 million illegal guns in Australia. They could be anywhere. They're everywhere. One of them could be hunting you right now. So, if guns are as evil as politicians say, and there's really 1 million of them illegally floating around on this island, why aren't we all dead yet? My name's Topher Field. This is the Topher Project, and I help people like you to understand the world as it changes around you. And yes, it's true. 30 years after the semi-automatic gun ban in 1996, after 3 decades of Australia having some of the strictest gun laws in the world, there are, according to the media, over 1 million illegal guns on the loose, in addition to the 4 million legal ones in Australia. But how can that be? Illegal guns are illegal. We made them against the law. Sure, and criminals don't obey gun laws, and we know that. And I agree that gun laws generally are absurd and only serve to disarm the victims rather than the criminals, but all of that's been said 1,000 times already, and that's not what this video is about. What caught my eye is actually the lack of gun violence, given that, well, there's 1 million of the suckers just floating around this continent. Have a look at murder statistics in Australia. 2023 is the most recent year we have data for. The number of people murdered was, drumroll please, 247. In a population north of 25 million, that's a murder rate of approximately 0.0001%. But of those 247 murder victims, just 27 involved guns. Yep. There's 1 million illegal guns in this country, in addition to the 4 million legal ones, and yet, at most, just 27 were used in murders, assuming that the same gun was never used twice. So, with 1 million illegal guns floating around in this country, 89% of successful murderers didn't use one. I mean, I feel like there's a TV ad in there somewhere. 9 out of 10 murderers prefer not guns. Now, some people will claim that this is proof that gun control is working. If it weren't for our strict gun control laws, we would have rampant gun murders everywhere. And they might have had a point if our strict gun laws had resulted in guns actually being hard to get. But the point here is that, at the risk of repeating myself, there's 1 million illegal guns floating around. And, well, most of us can think of where we would go to look for one and buy it if the need ever really arose. So, if there's just 27 murders involving guns, out of the 1 million or so people who have just the illegal ones, then, I'm sorry, but our low murder rate isn't a product of gun control, it's a product of people's temper control. We are not shooting each other because we decide against it, not because we lack the hardware to do it. And this will really blow your mind. Because there's about 4 million legal registered guns, plus the 1 million illegal ones, that's a total of 5 million guns responsible for these 27 gun murders. We know that. Thing is, there's 25 million Australians responsible for all 247 murders. And if you do the maths, this means that you are nearly twice as likely to be killed by any random Australian than you are to be killed by any given gun. And you walk past people all the time, right? I mean, you live next to some of them. You'd be safer living next to an AR-15 than you are to those lovely neighbours who always wave at you as you pass them by. They are a bit weird. Or is that just me? Never mind. On average, 30 Australians die from falling off ladders every year, which means your ladder in your cupboard is more likely to murder you than any of the 5 million guns in Australia, and falls of all kinds can kill more than 5,000 Australians a year, making gravity public enemy number 1. The thing is, none of these statistics actually change anyone's minds. I could go on for days with all kinds of things that are more dangerous to you than these 1 million illegal guns. But for people who are afraid of guns, well, it's exactly that, fear. It's not rational. It's not based on data or evidence. It's an irrational, emotional response based on a combination of movies, media fear porn, and social conditioning. So there's actually no use me continuing to go through the data pointing out that you're more likely to be killed on a road trip than by a gun. You're 50 times more likely to choke on your dinner than to swallow a bullet. And all of that stuff, all of that's true in a country that has 5 million guns in it. But for most people, that data just bounces off. Because you can't change someone's mind using evidence if they never used evidence to make up their mind in the first place. And I know this because my own views on guns used to be just as irrational. Yes, I liked them as a boy, of course I did, but I was 14 years of age when John Howard banned them, and I actually supported the ban. I got caught up in all the post-Port Arthur hysteria, and I self-righteously proclaimed that only bad guys would want to keep their guns. Now, that was a long time ago, and obviously I've changed a lot since then. But why? If my opinion wasn't based on evidence and data in the first place, then it couldn't be changed by evidence or data. So what changed my mind? Experience. In my late teens, I went shooting with a few friends on their farms and discovered that, hey, this is fun. Then I spent a few years as a grunt in the Army Reserves. Yes, play soldiers, chocos, all that. I don't mention my time in the Army Reserves to try and impress you, only to say that I spent a few years regularly handling assault rifles. Not assault weapons. That's the politically manipulated but actually meaningless term used by anti-gun politicians in the US. I mean actual assault rifles, meaning detachable magazine, medium caliber, select fire rifles. These are the scary ones that the Democrats in the US try to ban despite the Second Amendment. Yeah, I carried one of those regularly for a few years, including with live ammunition often enough, and I was surrounded by other young, testosterone fueled men who were also carrying an assault rifle and a few hundred freedom seeds at the same time. And yet, none of us ever shot each other. Then I went and spent some time in the USA, in Texas, specifically helping in an unpaid capacity with a TV pilot episode, which sadly never went anywhere. But nevertheless, I had rather a lot of fun, and I found myself positively surrounded by guns all of the time. As a non citizen, I couldn't carry my own, of course, but I didn't have to. At any given time, the people I was with had a half a dozen of them within arm's reach. And to quote Sergeant Major Basil Plumley, if the time comes that I ever need one, there will be plenty lying on the ground. Honestly, I quickly came to like it. And getting back to Australia and knowing that the people I was with were not packing heat, well, it left me feeling naked. And yes, I know people say we don't need to carry guns in Australia because it's safer than the US and all that nonsense. And that's an argument for another time. My point is this: by spending time around guns and around people with guns, my view of them was completely transformed. And now I am a raging pro gun absolutist. No, I don't have a gun here in Australia nor a gun license. I refuse to jump through their hoops, and after my resistance to the government during COVID, they would probably decide that I'm not a fit and proper person in any case. But all of that is beside the point. The point is that we are absolutely right about guns. Guns are safer than people, and the statistics clearly bear that out, but that's all irrelevant. If we are going to change the attitudes of Australians towards guns, we won't do it by arguing the statistics. We'll do it by inviting them to come down to the range with us, by having them out shooting clays on a farm, by helping them to experience guns in a positive setting for themselves. If you want to change the gun laws in Australia, don't call your local gun rights group. Most of them are on the take anyway, working for the government, not their members. Call your local gun range and ask about making a booking for you and some of your non-shooting mates for a try-shooting session. The irony of all of this media hysteria about 1 million illegal guns is that it proves beyond doubt that guns aren't the problem, and our fear of them is irrational. The tragedy is that's nice to know, but irrelevant. We won't win the gun debate through arguments and data, but through hearts and minds, and we do that by helping non-shooters to give them a go. My name's Topher Field. This is the Topher Project, and I help people like you to understand the world as it changes around us. Now, I do this full time, so if you'd like to support my work, then you can buy my books and merch from goodpeoplebreakbadlaws.com. You can follow me on all of the socials via @TopherField, and of course, please like, subscribe, and follow. Oh, and YouTube thinks that you will like this video too, so maybe check it out. I'll see you in the next one.